Hello, and welcome to Recipes with Ben. And today, I'm going to give you 7 reasons why you should ferment in a keg. And if I miss anything, feel free to drop a comment down below so we can all learn together. With all that said, let's get right into it, shall we? Number 1, you already own a keg. That's right, if you already own a keg, no matter the size, you can use it right now as a fermenter. Some recommend to cut the bottom off your dip tube to use it as a fermenter, but I say instead just buy a floating dip tube and replace the one that came with the keg originally. The key thing to remember when fermenting in a keg is you need to leave enough headspace so that during active fermentation, the crafting has enough space to rise in the keg. Number 2, ease of transfer into a second keg. Because kegs have both a liquid and a gas post, you just need a special liquid-to-liquid connector to move the beer from one keg to the next. Then all you need to do is apply a little pressure to the keg filled with beer to push it with some carbon dioxide to the second keg you're going to use for serving. Then you will want to either attach a spunning valve or a gray gas connect with a piece of tubing submerged in sanitizer so it can relieve the pressure as it displaces the CO2 that was in the second keg. Also, if you installed that floating dip tube like I said, you'll be able to leave behind the tube and other solids that are at the bottom of the keg after transferring. Number 3, you can ferment under pressure. Because a keg is meant to hold pressure, if you simply use a spunning valve that's attached to the gas in post, you can now ferment under pressure. This means you can brew lagers at room temperature or help keep those aromatic compounds in your IPA, which leads us to number 4, make great IPAs and limit the oxygen exposure. Because fermenting in a keg allows you for a closed transfer from a keg that you're going to use for serving, you can make an IPA and even dry hop in that keg, which we'll talk about in a second. If you simply fill the serving keg with sanitizer and push it out with CO2 and then close transfer from keg to keg, you will never expose your beer to oxygen, leading to a fresher beer, which is key for IPAs, as they can go stale when exposed to oxygen and lead to some ugly colors. Number 5, dry hopping in a keg. As I mentioned with the IPA, if you plan ahead and place your dry hopping in a mesh bag that has a food grade magnet inside, you can add the hops in the keg before you seal it up for fermentation. Then when you want to dry hop, just simply pull the magnets down into the beer. And you can even use this to double dry hop if you have 2 separate bags and 2 separate magnet setups. And with a floating dip tube, all the hop matter will stay behind in the keg when you go to transfer it. Number 6, pulling samples directly from the keg. If you want to monitor fermentation to see when it reaches its final gravity, simply attach something like a picnic tap to the keg and apply a little CO2 from your tank to push the beer sample out and get a gravity reading. This means you don't have to open up your fermenter to get a sample and allows you to know exactly when your beer is done. And finally, number 7, cold crashing and serving. Because kegs can handle pressure, if you want to cold crash your beer to help with your clarity, simply undo the blow-off tube, simply place in the fridge that you're going to use to cold crash the beer. This will also help limit suck back or when sanitizer gets sucked back into the keg. And then you can simply apply a little pressure and serve directly from the keg if you're going to drink this quickly. Again, this pairs great with a floating dip tube if you're going to serve from it, as it only dispenses the top, most clearest part of the beer. So there you have it, 7 reasons to ferment in a keg. Let me know what you have on tap right now or you're excited to brew. And if you're new to the channel and like this type of content, consider subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.